Hey, what's up,
Yo, what's
Nokio?
good, man?
Good to talk to you, man. This time for me, know I got soul
Yes,
here.
sir.
How you
Hey,
doing?
man, I can't complain. I'm good.
Yeah,
It's crazy. As crazy as this time is, it's probably been one of the best times that I've had since probably 95, 96.
that's amazing. Why is that? Because of what the music you're creating for your own stuff,
I
or
mean, just all the way around, man. Like, I've gotten to do, some stuff for myself, but, just writers and producers that I've been wanting to work with that, collaborating with and like for real, man, just getting a chance to go to sleep is
yeah,
amazing. At a regular time I never I took sleep for granted for so many years.
yeah. Well, let me just say, man, thank you for taking the time for this interview, and thank you for all the support and love you show us, man.
Oh no,
We
man.
definitely see it, we definitely feel it, and we really appreciate
No,
that.
man. I mean, to know that there's people out here like you guys that really respect the music and the artists and give us a platform to, just talk or showcase music. It's an amazing thing, man. So, I'm always down for that.
So glad to support. I want to start out talking about some of the music you've been putting out, by yourself, your own solo work. Tell us about how long you've been working on some of this. Was this started years ago, or is this all recent that's been coming recently?
Oh, man. So, the stuff that I put out in February, it was
Hmm.
like 20 something songs. And that was all stuff that dated back to about, I think I was messing around with that stuff like 2014 to 2016 for real. Like I make a lot of music in the house because I don't listen to the radio. So like I'm always making music just to listen to, myself or what I'm saying, when people come over and stuff like that. So it was kind of like, all right, well, it's Black History Month and I'm not doing anything. And let me just, just share with people. It's like one of my mentors called this year the Emancipation of the Hard Drive. So
Hmm.
that's really just, what it's been. But like the song that I just sent you, that was like I really just did that song about a week and a half ago, for real.
Yeah.
So,
Oh, cool.
it was like because some of the other stuff is kind of like abstract and different and just kind of like vibey, whatever. So I was trying to just thinking of things that I could do now with everything that's going on. Like I know that people know me for doing the rock sometimes and the hip hop, and it's been a long time since I really just made a proper R&B, probably about 20 years for real. I mean, just as far as like producing,
Yeah.
because like I write a lot of stuff, but production for me is something that's like real personal, and it's a part of myself that I have to put into it that is kind of like it goes beyond like anything other than the feeling and the energy being right. Like I've never been a producer. Like I've never made a beat CD, beat tape, walked in somebody's office, played a record, none of that stuff. Like it's always
Right.
been like I gotta like you and your crew and your vibe or whatever, or you can have the money back and I'll go ahead about my business.
Right.
I mean,
you know, what's interesting to me when I listen to some of the music, it's like, Dru Hill, we used to always recognize Cisco and Jazz as the vocalists, and Woody obviously in the beginning. I never felt like he got credit as a vocalist, but now I'm listening to some of your solo work, and I'm like, he could actually sing,
oh man,
and I don't
appreciate it.
know if people ever respected that.
Well, I'm gonna tell you, I didn't respect it for years. Like
Yeah.
at the beginning of I've never been the guy that like you would catch them any time of the day, walking down the hallway, on and off the bus, whatever it is, singing. And I've never been that guy ever. Like, it would be like those guys could really sing. So,
Yeah.
you know, especially through the progression of getting different people in the group, even before we were famous. It was like when we first started, or when Cisco first got in the group, me and I see Jazz on here. What up, boy?
Up,
When
Jazz?
when Cisco first got in the group, me and Cisco sang all the lead. And then as we got better singers, you know, Jazz and Woody and, you know, everybody, well, Woody came back because he had to leave for a second. But, you know, it kind of turned into a thing of, well, what's the point? Like, I could be over here writing and producing or, you know what I'm saying, doing whatever else. And, you know, these guys, because they love it for real. Like, even in the show, like, from 96 to probably 99, excuse me, half the time I wasn't even singing on stage. I'll be on the side of the stage talking to some girl, getting a phone number or something. I'd leave off the stage, go to the bathroom or something. Like, you know, it was just, I don't know, man. Like, even with the solo stuff, it took me so long to do it because I would get to this point where I would do the music and then I would picture myself on stage and I'd just bust out laughing. I'm like, man, I'm not doing this shit. So, you know.
Oh, man, that's cool. That's a cool story. I want to know, though, like, you know, you were known for your production early on, especially, you know, in the first few projects. Where did you develop those skills as a producer?
Oh, man, that, well, I had some good mentors. You know, I had my cousin Greg, my man Jay, my man Al, Dennis, Wayne. You know, those were the guys that it's crazy, and it's so crazy. We celebrating the 25th year of the first Mobb Deep album and Shook Ones and all of that. So 25 years ago this year was the first time I ever. Suze, what up? Was the first time that I ever went in the studio. They called me up one day, and I used to carry my keyboard around me everywhere. So, you know, I got a call, and it's like, all right, we coming to get you. We going to New York. So my man Dennis, my man Wayne came pick me up in the Range Rover. You know, this like 95. So, you know, it's like crazy. So we get up to New York, and we go in the studio. And, you know, one of the keyboard. So we go over in the, go in another room. And it was the room that the guy that engineered the Mobb Deep album used to work in Unique Studios. So I'm like standing in the studio, you know, like Shook Ones are like just dropped. So I'm like, man, this is like history right here. So I left out the room and I go back into the room that we had and I see my keyboard set up. So, you know, I'm like, all right, cool. You know, I figured something else going on and they just going to have me play on something. And then, you know, it was like, all right, man, go ahead and get busy. I'm like, what you talking about? It was like, we brought you up here to produce your first record for real. So, you know, shout out to them. And, you know, it's, you know, I didn't get in the music business to be an artist. I wanted to be a record man, you know. So from the beginning, you know, from, you know, Puffy to Quincy Jones and, you know, everybody before and, you know, in between, it was really a thing of, you know, like, I want to find the records, I want to make the records, I want to, you know, write records. And once people saw that in me, they just pushed me to keep going, you know. Like, I never used to sleep. I would, like, when we were doing the first album, I would get on the train from Baltimore to D.C., then get on, you know, there's, you know, subway, all the way out to, like, the last stop in Virginia. And then still had to wait for my boy to come pick me up and drive, like, 20 more minutes just to use the studio because he was the only person that would like let me use it and wouldn't be like fucking with me or, you know, trying to get me to do some dumb song in order for me to be able to use the studio at 1 o'clock in the morning or some shit like that. So, you know, that's always just been my passion, you know, that like for real, I started singing more out of necessity. It was probably like 99 or so, like right after we did like our last tour before everybody went and did their solo stuff. And, you know, it's like I had all these song ideas and there was nobody there to sing the shit. And I was like, all right, well, I know I can't wait for however long it's going to take to, you know what I'm saying, do whatever. I'm sorry. Hopefully that will just cut off because obviously whoever it is calling me did not get the message of me saying I'm ready to do an interview. But, you know, that happens in the world.
Yeah.
Cell phones die, you put them in the corner or something. Just stop. Just I don't even know what they're. Okay, there we
go. Well, reflect back for me on your work on the first album, the first Dru Hill album. You know, we were just talking about some of the best songs that should have been singles. We're talking like April Showers, like All Alone. Like, you had some great work on that album. What do you remember about helping to create that album?
Oh, thanks, man. Oh, man. You know, it was we used to have this thing where everybody would come to my house after school, and we would, get some food from the store or whatever, and just either sit on the steps outside of my mother's house or, go in my room and write. And, like I was just talking about my man Todd Richard, whose house I used to go to in Virginia. I remember, we had done all these songs, and we had a deal with Sylvia Rome, East West, and nobody knew what to do with us because they were like, all right, well, you got these guys, they're young, but they got these real mature voices. So it was like we couldn't do the bubble gum, but we couldn't do the grown man. So, we ended up getting dropped or whatever. And, we were just, doing talent shows and everything for a while. And I remember me and Woody had gone to Virginia, and we did, I want to say we did April Showers and another song. I can't remember what it was. But those songs ended up being the songs that got the production company that we were signed to excited about, it was like, all right, cool, like maybe we could really like make something out of this for real, instead of just trying to get us to redo a bunch of old records or just not knowing what to do. So, from that point when we finally got the deal, I've always been a studio rat. I'm the first one in there, last one to leave. So we recorded a lot of the first album at Sigma Sound in Philadelphia. And
Wow.
it was crazy because like I would have like all the rooms in there going at the same time. Like the guys would get mad at me sometimes for real because it would be like we might be working on the vocals in one room while the guys downstairs in the other production room, adding some instruments or sound designs to another song I did, and then the other room is something else going on. So, it was just, it was a great time. Not a lot of people could say that they got, like 5 songs on their first album and stuff that, it was right when you was like 14, 15 years old, for real. So, that whole time, it was a weird time, excuse me, because like I was the only one producing at the time, and we had
Yeah.
like part of our deal was that we got paid a certain amount of money, per record. So obviously I made a little bit more money, which, always is going to turn into at least somebody having to say something. But I was working, that was the thing. Like I've never been a dude, like I'm not out partying nowhere. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? I ain't even really trying to hang with my girl if I got work. Like you come past the studio or something, but it's nothing that's going to take me away from, getting the job done and really, I take production seriously. It's not, the beat making or whatever. It's being the person that's willing to take the responsibility to see the project from point A to point Z, and whatever it is that goes wrong, you take it and you fix it.
Right. Well, tell me this. At what point did you start getting calls to do outside projects for your production? Like, I remember that huge song you had for Capone and Noriega.
Well, that's the funny
I
thing.
remember. Mm.
So when we all went home and, we all working and everything, and, you know, I was going to labels, and they were basically telling me like, "Oh, Nokio, everything that you've done with Dru Hill is amazing, but you've never done anything by yourself, so start all over again." And no, for real, I'm dead serious, man. So it's like that summer, I took like 100 grand and rented out the old Hit Factory. Had like 3 rooms going. And just, because what happened was we had the rooms booked to do the Dru Hill stuff, but like I said, nobody showed up. So we ended up, I just said, well, switch the PO over, and I just pay for it. Man, we was in there so much, man. They was like, they was bringing us socks and stuff and T-shirts, and it was just like, just keep working. What you
Yeah.
need? So
Yeah.
and what I did was I started, instead of trying to go have meetings, and like I said, I wasn't making no beat CDs or whatever, so I just started inviting A&Rs to the studio to see us work. Me and my production team at the time. It was just like, just come past and see what's going on. And from there, that turned into me working with Rough Ends and Foxy Brown
Yeah.
for the Blue Streak soundtrack. And, and everything, else kind of, came from that for real. But it wasn't like nobody gave a fuck about that Dru Hill shit. It was like, yeah, all right, she
Oh man.
dope, but all right. And that's the thing people don't understand. No matter what level you get to, you still fighting to prove something to
Right.
somebody. So then I always been about the work. So I said, all right, man, let me see some people. I know what I'm doing, and it just it worked out. Like I tell people, like I didn't do the amount of records that you would think a producer like me would do for real. I just did the right records because I was always
Mhm.
scared that if I got caught up in just producing for money, that eventually the sound would get burned out, and then I had to try to find it. And I don't feel like going through all that, man. It's like I wanted to, that's why I stayed away from making R&B for so long because I knew it was a time when people were going to want it and even need it. So I wanted to be able to make the same record. I didn't want to have to go back from making pop sounding records or R&B sounding records and not be able to have that core of what makes the music we do different from everything else, from the way that you mix it to everything else.
Right. Well, what do you remember about your work on the second Dru Hill album? Because you basically your progression from the first album and then taking it to another level on the second one. Because the second one, had some of the biggest hits of Dru Hill's career. You were involved in songs like "How Deep Is Your Love," "Beauty," for example. What do you remember about stepping up to another level? And taking your skills to the next level on that
I
one?
remember everybody hated me.
Why? Why?
Because man, it's like because look, it was like we go to the studio and ain't nobody there. So if we got 3 rooms and I got 3 songs, I'm making 3 songs. So then you show up to the studio later on in the afternoon after you slept all day or was with your girl or whatever it is, it might be a chance that you won't get a room. And I've never had a problem with doing that. And I've never cared about when nobody. I used to put signs on the door. Like, do you walk up to the studio door? And it would be like 20 signs, and it'd be like, fuck you, turn around, walk away, do not enter, all kinds of shit. So then if somebody would walk in the room, I cut the music off, and we just sit there in silence, sometimes
Yeah.
for a long time. And then I guess when the person realized that I was being an asshole, they would go to leave out, and there was one sign on the inside door that said, fuck you too. And that was, I mean, like, I'm not an evil person, man, but I'm very serious about my craft and what I do. So it's like a lot of times that's that's not the same thing that's happening with everybody. And I don't just mean a group, I mean just people in general, people I don't know, whatever it is. So I try to keep it to where, I can stay focused. And, the whole thing is like, you got to show up to work. Like, if you're not showing up to work, I mean, I can't want it for you. So I'm going to go ahead and work. And then, like, you can't be mad, but like the song at the same time, it's just a bunch of. But aside from that, you know, uh, probably I would have to say, um, Beauty always stands out because nobody wanted to sing the record. It's
Right.
like I had to, go sing the whole song. After I played it, and everybody was just kind of looking like, he was like, all right, man, let me go.
Really?
Yeah, no, I mean, did so I had to go, went and did the record. Shout out to Don Warren. Don Warren was in the studio with me the whole time that I did Beauty. So, that was like real cool, working with Guy Roche and my man Phil Weatherspoon, who was my production partner at the time. Well, we actually still work together now, but, excuse me. Yeah, like I said, man, it's always it's a fight. And like I said, my rule used to always be, if I can't sing whatever I gotta sing within 15 minutes, I'm not going in the booth. So it wasn't a whole bunch of me singing those songs or whatever. I'd rather be on the other side and, making people mad.
Right.
No, man,
Crazy, man.
cause see, I'll let you in on a secret. Like, I got this tactic that I use where I don't like. I'm gonna make you upset in order for you to take that energy and put it on the record. I don't care if you call me a motherfucker after we done whatever it is. I'm gonna just look at you and say thank you because I got what I needed. I mean, it's nothing personal. I ain't sitting around trying, fuck with nobody or nothing. But, you know, like sometimes you gotta use alternative methods to get what you're trying to get. And it's like sometimes if you just say it directly, a person might do the opposite. So like the easiest thing to do is just catch a person at the height of their feelings and emotions and get them to take that and drop that on the record, and then we good.
Wow, man, that's passion right there.
No, man, I'm one of the people. I'm willing to die for it. Been like that since day one. So
That's dope. Love it. I want to mention one song from the third album, the song "She Said." And I told you about this song because I love that, you're singing on the record. And I really thought this should have been a strong single. Just so smooth, such a smooth song. Real Dru Hill fans in here know this song. What do you remember about that one?
Oh, man. So with She Said, I remember being in the studio. It was me and my man JoJo Brim, Def Jam. And I was like, I cut the lights off in the booth and put a partition up. And it was like, for what? And I was like, because I got to take all my clothes off to record this record. I don't need none of y'all niggas looking at me.
Oh, my goodness.
So, yeah, I recorded that record almost naked. Sometimes, man, I guess it was something holding the energy back. It needed to be it needed to be free. But it was really just, it was a time I was going through a bunch of stuff or whatever. And, the idea came from a girlfriend that I had at the time. And she wouldn't even known it. But we were just having a conversation. And, she was just kind of asking me, well, like, what happened to all these people that, said they was going to be there for you and they not here now. So, that kind of like sparked the inspiration, for making the record. And it's funny because, at the time it was people at Def Jam that were really like, yo, that record could have really like crossed y'all over. But I mean, what I learned, and I'm not gonna say who said it to me, but I mean it was said to me like more than once. Like it was basically like, if you sing a song, it's not going to be a single because people not used to you singing. So it wasn't that it was like a bad record or, anything like that. It's just, it's the way the game worked. And since I wasn't really one for pushing to sing too much, it ain't really make a difference. Like my thing has always been, you do stuff that makes people go back and look at your catalog. So if you consistently make great records, it doesn't matter if everybody catches every one. Eventually, they're going to catch all of them. It's the one record that a person hears that makes them say, well, I know it's got to be something else. So let me go see what else, the person did. So it's like, I just, music is therapy for me, man. Music is the reason why I'm alive. So I just make it and keep it pushing.
I love that, man. Love to hear that. And that's why we support you, man. We can feel that passion and feel that. So let me ask you, though, and I'm sorry, I didn't see The Unsung. Man, I don't really watch much TV.
I ain't see it neither, so.
I was just saying, if this was covered, I apologize. But was there ever a time after the Independence Day album that you guys were close to releasing another album? Because, us R&B lovers are impatient, man. We want a new album every few years, but I think it's been like 10 years since the album. Was there ever a time when you guys were getting back to it?
I mean, we started and stopped albums a bunch of times. I mean, we got records right now that we did with Troy. We started recording the last album in like 2018.
Yeah, I remember those.
You know what I'm saying? So, it's stuff around, man, but and it's nothing against anybody. It's hard making an album after a while, because see, when you're making all the other albums, it's happening in the middle of you doing stuff, so it's not you don't really have to like pull anybody away from anything. Nobody had to like leave their kids and you know what I'm saying, whatever else. But
Yeah.
once it turns into what it is now, where you kind of just moving around and you gigging and doing blocks of time. Then the only other time that you have is to record is when you're not doing that. But then everything else falls in. So it's like if we did, what was that, 2010? So I think I had started working on another album after that in like 2013, and
Wow.
that ain't going nowhere. And then you try
Yeah.
again and you try again and you try again. And I think that what happened was we got such a great response from the Christmas album that we did with yeah, but that's not Dru Hill proper album. That's not Dru Hill proper R&B album.
It's a really good project, though.
So, you
Really
know what
good
I'm
project.
saying? We did that, and it was kind of like radio was ready for us again. I mean, like, shout out to Empire. Like, they were able to, take a song off the album that we actually put out late, in comparison to what you usually do for that time of year, and, still, get like a top 5 record at radio with favorite
Yeah.
time of year. So, you know, radio was ready for us. To all we needed to do basically was come with a single right after that. But yeah, everybody know what happened after that. As far
Yeah.
as jazz needing some time and everything. So we weren't able to capture that window. And then with the newer stuff that we did, it was just you know it it was I don't know, I'm trying to find the right word because it's not like this terrible thing. It just that the sun, moon, and the stars hadn't lined up yet, and getting the getting the What You Need single out, when it came out, and then not really having a way to promote it now because you got to figure like that song came out beginning of February, and then by the middle of March, it's like we was all starting to be, in the house, and it, didn't get a chance to shoot a
Yeah.
video, or anything else. So you know that's the way it works sometimes, man. I mean,
Yeah.
yeah, I put it like this. I've gone to start a Dru Hill album more times than I haven't. Now, did anybody show up all the time? Nah, but it's definitely been, because I started on the album in 2008. I came down to Maryland and did like 40 records, and all 40
Wow.
I'm still sitting there. So that just,
It's tough to hear, man.
I mean,
It's really
I mean,
tough.
it's like I said, man. It's that's why artists stay in that mode with people around them that just keep you in that space of just doing stuff, because once you move out of that space, it's hard to get. When you grinding every day and you just locked in, it's easy to just take that energy and move it to something else. But when you're not, and you gotta come from home and you got stuff going on, and I mean, it'd be, like your kid got a recital or something like that, whatever it is, and or you just need some rest. So you move a little slower, and then if you start adding all the factors of, going from being with a major to being independent, and radio and marketing and stuff like that, it turns into a different thing that makes it hard to just focus on the music, because it's not easy for everybody to just say, all right, we got this great body of work, or like we know what we could do, let's just do it and put it out there. Or, my feeling of, realizing that 2 year space between making a record it don't work no more. Like, you gotta be on top of it. Like, I mean, if you really want to be in people's face, you gotta drop an album every month, or a little couple mixtapes in between there, everything else. So it's always been a thing of realizing that getting on stage, performing, all of that is easy. So it's easy for a person to say, well, why don't y'all go make a record? Like y'all can still sing and whatever, but it's a whole other, process that if not done correctly can, it hurts stuff more than it helps it.
Right. I got you. We're almost out of time, but there's one more question I wanted to ask you. I wanted to ask you this, but I'd rather just say it. I really hope that when the quarantine is over, that Jazz and Nokio are back with Dru Hill.
Well,
Listen, man, I love Black and Smoke. I've been down with Play It for years, and I don't mind them being in the group. I just want to see y'all all come
nah,
together.
man. I mean, well, look, like, and not to rehash a bunch of stuff, but if you saw what I said about it, I was serious, and it's for everybody else, but and it became even more evident to me. That's what I was saying, like something that came up since we've been home. Like I haven't figured it out yet, so don't nobody just be on my neck. But
Yeah.
I really just I feel like people are almost like people are going to need that. I feel like when we get to coasting and whatever this new normal is, it's a lot of stuff we're going to need to be all right, especially, as far as the feeling and the energy that's around. And I just, I feel like it may be, a good thing for, all of us to just get together and do it for the people. I mean, I tell you, like in my mind, my quick idea is to, do something that, would do something charitable that would benefit, first responders here in Baltimore, everybody that's, been essential workers and, been out here still grinding, and making sure that we're okay. So then, at that point, if anybody got a problem with traveling or, whatever, you don't really have to deal with that. We got plenty of venues here if we got to do it multiple nights, we do what we do. And, at the least, even if we can't turn it into a tour, I'm sure that's something that people will be willing to, come see, especially since next year is our official 25th year,
Yeah.
anniversary, and the first year that we could be eligible to be in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, might I say. So,
Wow.
it's it I don't know who made up me leaving the group because I really never said that nowhere. But
Well, on Wikipedia, you're not in the lineup, so this
yeah,
says Wikipedia says you're out.
yeah. I mean, fuck Wikipedia. You know what I'm saying? I mean, when they said I was going home, take a break. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, yeah,
I mean, and that's what it is. And I expressed how I felt about everybody around. So it ain't. I mean, it's always love. Even when we fighting, it's love. But things gotta be a certain way. And when it comes down to it, this whole pandemic, whatever it is that you want to call it,
yeah.
just lean, tip the scales more in favor of me doing it again than not doing it again. But
Nice.
I definitely need all my boys there because everybody needs a chance to get their shine. Everybody needs to get a chance to, get that thing off and, just like people always say, man, give the people what they want. I think that, after a quarter of a century of supporting somebody that half the time don't even know what we gonna do, the least
Yeah,
we could do, is give people that because I gotta realize that after 25 years, there's still people that's never seen us, live before. So, you know, we'll see, man. It's more yes than no than it was back in February.
that's good to hear.